Hi, I'm Jeff Price, and I'd like to welcome you back to Intentional Musicianship, where we talk about all things that lead to center stage, whether that's performance practice, showmanship, storytelling, or audience engagement. Today's episode is about gratitude for the moment you are in. When this episode is released, I'm going to be 54 years old. And I'm not saying that for attention or for nostalgia. I mention it because perspective changes over time for all of us, and that perspective has taught me something worth talking about. Someone once joked that when we're younger, our parents' words do not seem all that smart. But wow, as we age, their words seem to get smarter and smarter. I also think it's interesting to watch how older folks often seem to have it together in the middle of the chaos of a given day. I believe that comes from having so many experiences that shape how they see the world, how they listen, and what they value. I think they appreciate and own the moment. Now, life doesn't suddenly become better at a certain age. We simply start noticing it more. Sometimes we as people move so quickly toward what is next that we forget to experience what is happening right now. And often it is only later when a season has passed that we realize how meaningful it truly was. That's what today is about. Enjoying the journey. It's funny how the song For Good from the musical Wicked has been embraced to mark special moments, graduations, transitions, those endings that feel bigger than the calendar date attached to them. We build ceremonies around those moments. We sing, we reflect, we acknowledge that something meaningful has happened. And as a side note, isn't it interesting that for almost every important moment like this, there are musicians there to help capture the tone of the event? But in everyday life, we don't often have ceremonies for the moments that shape us just as deeply. That doesn't mean those moments matter any less, and it doesn't mean we cannot carry the same attitude of gratitude with us along the way. Being a musician is not always easy. There are moments of doubt, moments of comparison, moments when progress feels slow or invisible or just out of reach. There are rehearsals that feel like they've gone on forever, performances that don't go just as planned. Days when the work feels heavier than the reward. And yet, along those challenges, there is something deeply joyful about making music. Maybe it's learning next to one another, growing together, sharing effort, struggle, laughter, and sound in the same space. Music gives us a reason to show up for each other. It gives us a common language. It gives us moments that stay with us long after the last note fades. If we can learn to be grateful, not just for the outcome, but for the process, for the people, and for the shared journey, music becomes more than something we do. It becomes a joy that lasts a lifetime. Sometimes we can get so focused on the performance we forget about the overall experience. And sometimes we're so focused on getting through the program that we forget about the people that are alongside us. At every level, whether we're learning, teaching, performing, or leading, being present matters. Being present as a witness to these events is part of our human experience. We support each other as we move through our own journeys. We learn from one another by watching, by hearing, and by sharing space. Those moments shape us more than we realize. Another thing we forget sometimes is that performances don't have to be perfect to matter. Think about a gift made by a child. It might not be perfect, it might not be even practical, but it was made with care, it was made with intention, it was made with love. Performances can be the same way. Standing on a stage and offering something you have worked on is a really big deal. Sharing music, even when it's not flawless, is an act of generosity. What matters is the intention behind the offering. Now let's talk about the audience. Every person sitting in the audience had other choices. They could have stayed home. They could have watched something else. They could have gone somewhere else entirely. But they chose to be there. And that choice matters. The marketplace is full of options, distractions, and entertainment. We can't assume an audience will just show up because we're performing. That is why I believe it's important to acknowledge them every opportunity I can. At the end of concerts, I used to always say, I'd like to thank each of you for coming tonight. I know you have busy schedules, and the fact that you chose to be here means a great deal to us. That's not a formality, that's gratitude. And gratitude builds connection. Many years ago, I used to sneak into the U.S. Army Field Band Soldiers Chorus, and we used to sing a song made popular by Bob Hope called Thanks for the Memory. Now, we changed the words to fit our experience of being on the road. It talked about sharing moments, particularly not inside a hotel or a bus. About being welcomed. About how the people you meet along the way make the journey worthwhile. You see, music makes shared memories between all of us. When you think about it that way, every concert becomes more than a performance. It becomes a moment in someone's life, including yours. After 40 episodes and 2 trailers for this podcast, I have spent a lot of time talking about ways to improve performances, connect more deeply, and be more intentional with what we do on stage. And sure, all of that does matter. But the longer I do this, the clearer something else becomes. The best advice might not be about what to add, fix, or optimize. It might simply be this: be present in the moment, as you're always sharing it with others. This could mean the rehearsal, the performance, those conversations behind closed doors, those conversations in the hall after the show. Those moments are the reason we do this in the first place. And when we're fully there with one another, the rest tends to take care of itself. So wherever you are in your journey, try to notice the moment you're in, the people you're with, the music you're making, the audience that chose to listen. You don't have to wait for a milestone. You don't have to wait for perfection. You don't have to wait until later to decide that this mattered. Gratitude is not about age, achievement, or applause. It's about awareness. And the more aware we become, the richer the journey feels. If you're listening to this, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for spending this moment with me. Thank you for being part of this ongoing conversation. You can always reach out to us at intentionalmusicianship.com. I'd love to hear from each and every one of you. Thank you for the memories we're creating together. I know I couldn't have imagined a time 3 years ago that I would even start a podcast, let alone all the amazing experiences I've had along the way with each of you. I hope you continue to enjoy the journey wherever it leads you next. Thanks again for listening, and I hope to see you on the next episode of Intentional Musicianship.